Okay, let's actually start standing. So just take a moment, feet some, yeah, sitting bone distance apart-ish. And let's actually just shift weight over to one leg. Feel your hip over thigh, over knee, over lower leg, over foot. Like sense of rib cage, waist over that leg, and then shifting to the other leg. And just notice how you stand on each leg. Hip over thigh, over knee, over lower leg, ankle, foot. And just notice which feels more organized, what feels more stressed, challenged, balanced. First side again. And second side. And center, right? Notice if your sense of center feels different. And let's shift forward towards toes. And slowly shifting back towards heels. Just notice what happens in your hips, your head, your back. Toes can feel light. Notice, do you roll to the inner heel or outer? And which foot? And rolling forward towards toes. Notice which toes catch you, and is it the same on the right side as the left side? Which toes squeeze in, which toes press into the floor, squeeze into each other. And then again, center, somewhere between toes and heels. Good. Let's inhale, take the arms out and up. And exhale the arms down. And this time maybe looking up towards the hands as the arms go up, and looking down as the arms go down. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Just going to turn a little. So let's take the arms. I'm just going to take one arm forward and one arm back, just rotating with the arms. And the arms come down, other side. So one arm sweeps forward, the other sweeps back. And you get to decide, does the pelvis go with, or is the pelvis a little more static? Does the head turn with the ribs? Do you look back? Do you look forward? Does it change side to side? Notice when your breath comes in, lengthening that inhale, lengthening that exhale. Good, last time. Good, and center. Good, and one more. Let's take the arms. I'm going to show you from straight out. So I'm going to take the arms up, and then I'm going to turn to one side and just a little bit of a back bend. So arms are going to go wide, chest is going to lift, eyes are going to lift, and center. So there is a little bit of a lift of the pubis towards the front lower ribs, and the ribs dropping towards the pubis. So there's more back bend in the upper back. So arms up. Again, little rotation to the opposite side. Opening the arms, lifting the eyes and the breastbone. Center, arms down. Again, inhale, arms up. Little rotation, arms open, little back bend, keeping that almost anti-back bend in the lower back. And other side, arms up. turn, low back bend, and center, and arms down. Let's do one more each side, up, and turn, little lift, and center, maybe just over to the other side, lift, and center. Okay, one more. So I'm just going to take one arm up to the ceiling. Again, little bit of an anti-back bend, right front ribs down, pubis up. And as that same arm sweeps back, I'm going to take it down that same thigh. You can even bring your hand to your buttocks and send your sitting bones down and forward, and take the other arm up. Just again, a little tiny back bend, and then bringing that arm down, sweep that arm back and up and forward and down. Other side. So I'm just going to call an arm, left arm up. You can be doing the opposite, sweeping up, 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 and back. Again, either hand on thigh or sitting bone. Opposite arm up, right arm up, look up. And then right arm down, left arm back, and up and around, forward, down. First side. Reaching up, around like a big back stroke. And again, maybe hand on sitting bone or thigh, little back bend, reaching that breastbone up, looking up. So it's more of an upper back bend. Right arm up and back and forward. Big back stroke, left arm. Good, finding back of thigh or sitting bone, right arm up. Look up, can be quite small, doesn't have to be a big movement. Right, it's more first side, getting that containment in the lower spine and that separation in the upper spine. Good, second side, up, forward, up, back, opposite arm, lifting just enough. And forward and down. Good. Okay, let's grab blocks. And just bringing them to the front of your space. And I'm going to stand in the back of my space. And chin to chest. Letting that flexion in the neck so you feel the whole length of the back of the neck. And then letting the shoulders start to come forward. So upper thoracic, middle thoracic, and almost trying to lift what's below where you're curling forward. Soften the knees, if that helps you, especially in the places where it's hard to articulate. The big chunk of the spine wants to move together. Slowly rounding down. Bend your knees, let your ribs rest on your thighs. And then rounding back up. Pelvis lifts. Lower spine lifts. Arms heavy. Lower ribs lift. Middle, upper, base of neck, upper neck, and head. And let's just turn the head slightly to the right, chin to the chest, keeping that head just slightly turned. So one arm will be a little lower. And that same sense of rounding slowly, articulating slowly, keeping what's below, lifting up vertically. Slowly rounding down.
Then relax the head for a moment, maybe even just bob the head. A little yes, a little no. Again, turning the head to the right, just ever so slightly and rounding back up. Legs can be straight, knees can be bent, whatever feels more helpful. Pelvis lifts, lower back, lower ribs, mid ribs, upper ribs, neck, head. And other side, head left, chin to chest. And rounding down. Notice the places that are a little stickier. You can use your breath or slow down movement. Or feel the fluid places and the stuck places or the tighter places that your conversation. And when you're down at center, just feeling that weight. Head is very heavy, so letting that weight hang as much as you can. A little nodding, yes and no. Head to the left and rounding back up. Elbow down, top of the sacrum up. Rolling up through the lumbar, thoracic, cervical. Okay. Simple turn of the head to one side, center, other side, center, side, center, and side. Good. One more, rounding down, chin to chest, straight down the middle. Oh, so much easier. And then let's walk the hands forward, coming into downward dog shape. And let's lift the heels up, feeling the hips lift up to the ceiling and pull back away from the hands, hands moving down and forward. And then letting the heels drop, but keep lifting the sitting bones up and back, and hands move down and forward. Good. Then I'm going to walk the feet towards the hands. Right, bending knees if you need to, lifting hands, coming onto fingertips. Let's just walk towards the blocks. I'm just going to start hands on blocks, hands under shoulders, feet under hips. Good. All right, I'm going to take one leg back, right leg back. And let that left knee bend, coming into a lunge. Bring the blocks by the foot. Let's lower that back knee down to the floor. But letting the hips lower and letting the sitting bones move down and slightly forward. So there is that sense of little posterior tilt, a little lift of the pubis towards the front lower ribs. And then lifting that back knee up again. And then lower the knee. One more time, lifting that back knee up again. And then one more, knee to the floor, and maybe lift the foot. Again, a little posterior tilt in the pelvis, doesn't have to be a big movement. And then toes down, lift the knee, and let's straighten that front leg. And bend that front leg, back leg stays straight. Straighten both legs. And bend that front. And keeping the hands on the blocks, I'm just going to step the left leg back to make the right downward facing dog. Hands on blocks. Good, and let's switch legs, so right foot steps between the blocks. Letting the hips lower. Letting that back knee come down. And letting that back knee lift. And letting that back knee lower. And letting that back knee lift. Good, and then bringing the back knee down, lifting the foot. And then hips may want to move back. See if you can keep them heavy, right? Not through force, just intention. And then foot down, lifting the knee. Other leg, straighten the front leg. And bend. Let's straighten. And bend. Straighten, and again, the sliding, stepping that foot back to meet the left downward facing dog. Okay. So let's take that right knee in towards the chest. And I'm going to pull that knee forward. So I'm shifting towards a plank shape, pulling the knee towards that right elbow, and then outside of the block. Again, I'm going to bend the knee, so a little bit of a lunge with the hands inside the front leg. So left hand stays on the block. I'm going to take that right arm out to the side of the room and up towards the ceiling. And then right hand back to the block. So back heel stays off the floor unless you need it to come onto the floor. Left arm comes out to the side of the room and up to the ceiling. Right, so a little bit of a balance challenge with that back heel up. Noticing your breath. And left hand down. Then let's go back to the first side. So right arm out and up. Good, and looking up towards the hand. And this time I'm going to bring that right arm back towards the back foot, towards the left foot, and maybe follow with the eyes just a little, as far as you can. And arm back up to the ceiling, and then arm overhead. Again, following maybe the arm or the hand with the eyes. And then let's bring the right hand back to the block. And switch hands. So left arm out. And up, organize how you need to. Same thing, I'm going to bring that left arm down towards the left leg, following the hand or arm with the eyes as much as you can. What's available. Back up to the ceiling, overhead. And then keep going down to the block. Let's straighten that right leg. Bend it enough, step it back. Good. Left knee into the chest. Knee comes forward towards the left elbow. Foot to the outside of the block. Good. Hands on blocks inside that left foot. Okay, so left arm out and up. So we're turning towards the leg, easier to balance. Just breathing, feeling what's happening in the rotation, in the hips, waist, ribs. Left hand down, right arm out and up. Notice your breath. Notice if you're rolling out or in on your foot. Right hand down, left arm out and up. And not so much about being perfectly aligned, really just feeling what's sticky, what feels fluid. Good, left hand down towards the right thigh. Following with the eyes, with the head, just a little. Back up to the ceiling, arm overhead, following with the eyes. And down. And switching again, right arm out and up. Good, right arm down, back towards the right leg. Right, the challenge is moving the head. Right arm overhead. Just increases our need to balance. Turning to face forward, and then let's straighten the front leg and step back to downward dog. Good, knees to the floor. Good. So I'm going to keep the toes under, not rounding the back. Finding that posterior tilt in the pelvis, the lift through the ribs, the dropping of the head. And then letting the weight shift back a little just to feel that stretch through the underarms, mid-back, upper back. And then coming forward, keeping that posterior tilt in the pelvis, and just think about the ribs sliding towards the arms, maybe even through the arms, maybe the head lifts a little, right, moving towards a little bit of a back bend, and then moving back. Then rounding, feeling that nice upper back widening, back ribs, lower ribs widening, back of waist widening, and then coming forward, keeping that. So sitting bones heavy, even curling forward into the backs of the legs. Do this lifting, maybe a little bit more into that sense of a back bend. Maybe, maybe not. And then let's actually turn the blocks up. Again, rounding back, and let your hips come a little further back. Nice upper back length and width. And shift forward. Let's turn the blocks down. Let's come back to downward facing dog. Good. Right knee to the chest. Right foot to the outside of the block. Let's straighten that front leg. So similar rotation. So left hand stays on the block. Right arm out and up. A little bit more of a challenge in the hips, especially that lateral hip. Soften your knee if you need to. Right hand to the block. Again, you can bring that back heel to the floor, or you can keep it up. A little more challenge as you rotate. Finding that balance, that organization, left hand down. Again, first side, right arm out and up. Good, you can either stay here or sweeping that arm down towards the hip, up to the ceiling, overhead, and down to the block. Other side, left arm up. Good. Again, you can either stay here, back foot can be on the floor. Listen to your breath. If it feels available, head to the hip, back to the ceiling, overhead, and back to the block. And let's just bend the knee for a moment. And straighten the legs, step back, downward dog. Good, left knee into your chest, knee to the elbow, foot to the outside of the block. Good, let's go ahead and actually here bend and straighten, just to feel that, just to anchor the feet, spread into the feet. Notice if your foot needs to turn out or in, either one of them, front or back. And right hand stays on the block, left arm out and up. Big outer hip stretch. Left hand down. Right arm out and up. Heel up or down. Good, and right hand to the block. Left arm again, out and up. Good, maybe the hand down towards the hip. Back up, maybe overhead. And down to the block. Second side, second time. Really feeling into that sense of balance. The movement, even just of the head and the eyes, and how that impacts. Balance, lifting the heel. Back and down. Bending that front knee. Straightening it, stepping back, downward dog. Good. Knees to the floor. Let's just sit back on the heels for a moment, giving the arms just a little rest. Good. And sitting, right? If you can sit on your heels, if not, you can sit on a block, but just feeling that sense of balance from tailbone to base of neck, breastbone to pubis. Is anything pulling back or pushing forward? Just the sense front body, back body, symmetry, balance. And not looking for perfection, really honoring the places that feel more full on one side or less full on one side. Right, that building awareness is more important than building perfection. Let's keep them around just a little bit. Let's actually well, let's do one thing on our back. So I'm going to lay down. Stretch the legs out. Just noticing what's settling and what's not, right? Gives me sometimes an idea of where am I using my body too much. Good, and then bending knees. Simple anterior, posterior tilt. Feet somewhat parallel. Sometimes hard to tell, but see if you can. And even noticing, right, as I posteriorly tilt, there's a different sense of load through the feet. And is it the same on the right foot or the left foot? Anteriorly tilting, notice the load through the feet. And is it the same side to side? And is there more load when you anteriorly or posteriorly tilt? Good, pause. Let's just take one block between, so mid-width between the thighs. Just a gentle tug, not a lot. And just enough to keep the block there. Again, anteriorly, posteriorly tilt. Notice, does one thigh press into the block more? Does one thigh move away from the block more? Does the block turn? Does it spin? And then maybe try one where there's a little, just enough presence on the block that it feels symmetrically held, and there's a sense of the feet pressing. the same amount of weight in your anterior and posterior. I mean, they're different. There's definitely more weight on one, but even right to left. Good. And then coming back to center, just gonna skip it up a little bit. So 1 foot on the block, 1 foot on the floor, anterior, posterior tilt, finding like the distance away from the body or away from each other that feels right. And anterior, posterior, now the feet are in different levels, so noticing how that weight or efforting, how it distributes. Good. One more. Anterior, posterior. Pause. Let's just switch legs. So slide the block under the other foot. Again, if you need to change distance from the body or from each other. Anterior. Noticing what's different on this side if you can track it. Does the asymmetry feel more asymmetrical on one side or more normal on one of these variations? Good. Last one. And then pause. Let's bring the block between the feet. Good. Let's just a gentle hug of the block with the feet. And again, anterior, posterior. Notice how that changes things. Effort or sense of weight. Weight through the feet. I notice one leg works just very differently than the other leg. Good. And move back to center. Let's take the blocks out. Take the block out. And I'm just going to take now one block. So let's actually do it without blocks and then we'll do it with blocks. So I'm going to set the blocks up. Middle height, I'm just going to put them down by the hips. Then I'm going to bend my arms. So my arms are at a little bit of an angle, so my elbows aren't close to the body, they're a little further out. And I'm going to press hands up towards the ceiling, but I'm going to press elbows, upper arms, and possibly shoulder blades back into the floor. So I'm just pressing the whole back of the upper arm, shoulder blade on the floor. Good. And feeling what happens to the shoulder blades. Okay. Do they move in towards the spine? Does one move up, one move down? Both move down, both move up. And slowly release. Notice what happens. Maybe the spine sits back on the floor. Or more of the upper back sits on the floor. And let's do it again. A little press. And just notice how the upper back organizes. Is it similar right side and left side? Just one shoulder blade go up, one go down. Both go down. Both go up and then slowly release. Let everything settle. Good. One more little press. Right arm, left arm. Again, notice which one is different or how they're both different. Shoulder blade. Upper back. Even noticing the lower spine and back of neck. Front chest, front shoulder. One shoulder higher, one shoulder lower, and then relax upward. Okay. I'm just gonna lower the blocks all the way down. So now I'm gonna slide the blocks in, same angle. And slightly tipped away from the body. Close, close, close to the body so I can put my upper arms on the blocks. And same thing, I'm gonna press into the blocks. Pull into the block, elbow, upper arm. Now this time shoulder blades are gonna organize on the back rather than against the floor. Spine will lift off the floor, just noticing again what happens. Where is there more weight on which arm? What are the shoulder blades doing? Are they moving into the spine, up, down? And slowly lower the back to the floor. And let's do that again. Little press. Good. Maybe then play with focusing just on one arm. Where is there more load? Is it higher up towards the shoulder or more towards the elbow? And what about the other arm? What's happening in the neck, lower back, right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade. And relax. Good. Last one. And make sure your upper arm's on the block. Press. And maybe even playing for just a little symmetry. Equal weight on the upper arms. Sense of shoulder blades moving similarly. Into the spine, slightly down, slightly up. Just notice what that means in your back. And then slowly release. Blocks out to the side. Yeah. And let's straighten the legs for a moment. Bend the legs. Feet a little wider than hip distance apart. Arms out from shoulders, straight out to the side from the shoulders. Good. Let's tip the knees to one side. I'm going to let the head tip to the other side. So the knees are going left. That head's going to go to the right. Right shoulder heavy. Stepping into those feet. Slowly center. And other side. And head opposite. So feeling again the movement of the head, just reminding that shoulder to stay heavy, upper arm. The ribs will turn with the pelvis. Feet will press, the pelvis will turn, but just feeling what happens. Center, other side, finding a cadence, a rhythm that feels interesting and helpful. It connects you to your breath, connects you to your body. Think about your awareness coming from the body rather than from the mind. Even your sense of consciousness as a whole body experience. Good. And last time like this. And when you feel balanced, just coming back to center. Good. First time or first side again, going to one side. I'm going to the left, so the back leg is gonna slide towards that front leg. And let's just trace around the leg, so the knees can stay bent, this first one. Just tracing the back leg, top leg around the bottom leg. And then back around, back out to the side. Center. Tipping to the other side. So head, if the head turns with the knees, there's a little less torsion in the back. It depends on how your back is feeling. And the back leg slides to the front leg and around the leg. Both knees can be bent. And then retracing your steps. Back to where you started, knees center. And finding that rhythm, side, back leg slides around, slides back around, and center. Easy breath. And you can also decide how far you go into this, how slow. Back to center. If the back starts to warm up, you can let the legs straighten a little more as it swings around. Slide slowly around, listening to your body. Faster is not always better. It's just faster and slower. And one more each side. Slow enough to know, do you need the waist to be heavier? Is the head holding still? Is the breath holding still? What can you do to find more suppleness, more yielding, or softening? Slowly, slowly back to center. Bringing hands onto belly, letting your breath come into your hands. Letting your inhale find your sitting bones, your right sitting bone and your left sitting bone. Letting your breath find your sitting bones and pubis, pubic area, front of the base of your pelvis. And breath finding the back, right sitting bones and tailbone. All of that tissue. Right from your kind of anus out to your glutes. Let us grab those blocks again. And turn them up middle height. And I am going to turn them, and again, you can always turn them down. But I'm just going to turn them so they angle out from the body like a skirt. So it's closer to the body, higher up, and further out, lower down. Lifting heels, lifting sitting bones. Edge of the block right up at the edge of the sacrum. So in that V shape. And then walking the feet out, walking the ribs away from the pelvis and the feet away from the pelvis, making any adjustments you need to make. A little tip of the pelvis towards the ribs. And depending on your body, so if it feels good to let the knees fall open, you can. You can even keep your feet wide and let your knees open. And if that feels too engaging in your lateral rotators, you can take your feet wide and let your knees drop in. Letting the belly soften and throat soften. And noticing if you have a sense of your vibration, of how your, I guess, the speed of your vibration or the smoothness or the spikiness of your vibration. Maybe you can't tell, maybe it's the speed of your thoughts that you can track. Sometimes a shallower breath goes with a more kind of faster rhythm. And not really needing to change anything, but just notice if you can become aware of what's happening inside. No judgment. Sometimes just tracking patterns, right? Some of us move through life faster and some of us move through slower rhythm. It changes depending on the situation, circumstance. Consciously take a few longer breaths. Be using the nose or the mouth. Lifting your sitting bones, heels, slide the blocks out, roll the spine down. And if you want, you can grab your blankets to put under your knees or just take a few moments with your knees lifted, hips on the floor. And you can support the legs with the blocks, the blankets. Backs of the knees or even or backs of the thighs or the knees. Feeling the movement of the breath. Anything in the body that still would like to settle more. Even just that really simple sense of putting down anything, maybe using the breath, is that way to put things down, anything that isn't yours to carry in the moment or that needs to get put down for a moment. And always pick it back up. What needs, where do you need some space? What isn't yours to carry in the moment? And you that feel distracted or tired or busy, confused, entangled. So letting those just slip out from wherever they are, come back to you, to your breath. Back home to yourself and letting that also come in easily, like the pacing of all of it being easy on your system. Gentle, nourishing, reinforcing. Nice and easy, nice and slow. Moving hands and feet. Holding, rolling. Pause on your side for a moment. And slow. Sit. One hand on heart, one hand on belly. Exhale, let's inhale for an Om.